but this is what we're working on right now, um, which is a super duper lovely cross stitch pattern for reproductive rights. And there was a fundraiser. It was what are the words I'm trying to think of? It was Designers for Good. I think that's what it is. Yes, Designers for Good. It is a collective of independent cross-stitch designers who create patterns to raise money for charity. So this is the one of the patterns that they had for the fundraiser for reproductive freedom, where if you pay at least $5 or donated at least $5 or more to an abortion access charity like Planned Parenthood, for example, you would get access to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 cross-stitch patterns by some fabulous cross-stitch pattern makers. So that is what I'm doing. One of these patterns, this one, pointing things. This one by the Witchy Stitcher is the one that I'm working on this super cool fabric from corn mussels. And some very like small things that I normally do. Oh man, it's been a while since I fully prepped a project. And normally what I do when I have Ada like this is that I normally sew the edges. I do a blanket stitch around the edges. Part of it for me is to make sure that it doesn't fray, but then the other part of it for me is also it helps me make sure that I have like a border. Because sometimes I will stitch too close to the edge, and that is not a good idea. So I normally do a blanket stitch. It has been a hot sec since I did a blanket stitch. So just me casually looking up how to do a blanket stitch because it's been a minute. It has been a minute. And there's several variations. People do buttonhole stitches instead. They do it as a decorative edge to patterns that they cross stitch. Personally, for me, you normally don't see it for things that I work on. But for myself, I like to have it just so it doesn't start like falling apart. Okay. So I think I'm gonna take, I have some black cross stitch. I have some black embroidery floss that I was using for another project that I no longer need because I finished that project. And I'm going to use that to do my blanket stitch around the edge. And I got a very, very fancy needle threader thing from Joann's. It's like because I normally struggle with threading needles myself. So I got one of these so that I don't suffer needlessly trying to thread a needle. Although I've never used these little hook ones. I normally use this sort of implement at the end. It's a little hard to see. Normally I use something like this, where it's a little metal triangle that you use to thread the needle, but I'm trying to use these little hooks and seeing how that goes. So we're going to try to start some... I might end up doing a loop start for this blanket stitch, just to make it a little easier. Got me just actively trying to figure out how to do a blanket stitch again. My goodness, it's been so long since I prepped fabric. I'm almost confused on like how it works. It's been entirely too long for me. But I'm just gonna do a bit of a loop start and push my mic out of the way so I can do this in a way that I can see. And I'm gonna do it basically like more or less the equivalent of 2 squares away from the edge. So basically, me looking at a blanket stitch diagram, you go back to front and through, I'm pretty sure is the general way that people do it. So back to front and it makes a loop and then through, I think, like this. So back to front and then back to front again. And I unthreaded my own needle. That's pretty par for the course. That's a thing that I do often. Thank you for the follow. I'm going to just say creamy because that username is a little 18 plus. But welcome in, friend. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We're doing some cross stitching. Or rather, we're prepping for some cross stitching. And by prepping, I mean remembering how to do cross-stitch things to begin with, because I've clearly forgotten. I think where I've already kind of messed up was doing it stitch by stitch, which is going to be a little hard to maintain. Or else I'm going to be stitching here forever just doing the edging. So I'm going to do it over every 2. Yes, we'll do it over every 2. And hope that I can actually count. But the reason I'm doing this is basically it helps the edges from fraying. So fabric like this, like the edges aren't sealed in any way. And sometimes what you'll get, because it is, you know, like a woven material, is that some of the material will start coming off of the edges and fraying pretty badly. I know some people use glue on their edges to make them stay and not fray. I personally never used any glue for it, but I know that's a solution that a lot of people use. Another one I've seen people use is using tape. And I've tried doing the tape method, but for me, every time I've tried it, the tape is always falling off mid-project. Then it doesn't end up helping because every couple of minutes I'm adjusting the tape. So what I've ended up doing is doing blanket stitch. I know some people will use a machine and do some machine sewing, which is definitely a great option if you have a sewing machine on hand. I do not. So hand stitching it is for me. What are other methods I've seen? I've seen some people that just like the fringe and they leave the fringe. They stitch up until a certain, I guess, part of their picture or whatever it is that they're stitching their pattern. They'll stitch almost like a border around it in the middle of the fabric, and then they'll just fringe off the edges so it gives it a different texture. And some people leave it in the frame that they're stitching in. So especially when people are using circular frames, some people will just display and leave the pattern, leave their finished work within the frame that they were already stitching in or in another frame, so you don't have to worry about the ends fraying at that point either, because it's already secured within a circular hoop. But I know some people that that do all sorts of intricate ways of finishing off their embroidery hoops, which is almost an art in and of itself, with some of the ways that people finish it, where they will they'll sew the back closed in like a sort of spirally pattern. They'll felt the background so it's a very flat background. I've seen some very interesting ways of finishing, especially in embroidery hoops. Oh, shoot. Because I was using this embroidery thread for an actual project, it's a little shorter than I would normally make it to do a blanket stitch edge, but we will make do. I already have it, so I might as well use it. Yeah, we're just gonna go along and stitch this edge just as prep. Sometimes I feel like the prepping part of cross stitch takes me the most time rather than the actual cross stitch itself. Sometimes it feels like the cross stitch flies by, but the gridding and the edging that I do on the fabric takes a while. And mainly because it was like more of a lesson learned. There are times where I've started cross stitching on fabric and I did not at all secure the ends, and then I ended up running out of space or coming dangerously close to the edge of the pattern I was doing because of the fact that it frayed so much from all the handling, because you're holding it constantly, you know, stabbing the fabric, and it makes it a little bit difficult to stay intact. Moth! Moth! Moth and friends, hello! Oh, Tech, we love you. Oh, my heart. Hello! Welcome in, Raiders. Oh, goodness. We hope your week is better, Carrot. My heart. Oh, y'all, thank you so much. Oh, welcome in, Suited Monkey, Moth, Carrot, Star, Gray, Dermo Demero. Am I saying that right? Welcome in. Excuse me, Twitch. Anyone not following Tech Fix That now? Oh, thank you for the follow, Suited Monkey. Y'all, welcome in, Raiders. We hope that your week is better. Oh, thank you so much, Carrot. Dermo, thank you so much for the follow. Hello. I need to introduce myself. Hello, my name is Tech. I am a variety streamer. Doing mainly lots of crafts with some gaming. We actually just finished playing Hatful Boyfriend, which is a pigeon dating sim. If you've never heard of it, it's the weirdest thing I've ever come across, and highly recommend if you're ever really bored and want to play a dating sim that involves pigeons. It was quite the experience, I will say that. But we just finished that up, and now we're prepping some cross stitch together. Hello, friend. Welcome in. Lurk for more coffee. Okay, see you in a bit, Carrot. Thank you for shouting out our friends Andrea. Moth, how was your stream? I caught some of Carrot's stream today, where writing was being attempted. Lots of Tobes eating. Lots of Tobes, but while eating, which I appreciated very, very much. Cute little Tobes. Carrot, oh hi, friends have been lurking in the carrot cold. Detect raid train. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm prepping some cross-stitch fabric right now, and I'm trying not to mess it up. Because edges are not always super even. And basically what I'm doing is, sometimes Ada, which I can show actually. Let me show it really quickly. I messed up that stitch anyways. I might as well show what I'm doing. Pause a second, friends, as I try to undo the knot that I just created for myself. Okie dokes. Let me see if I can zoom in and kind of show why I'm doing the thing I am doing. So, if you can see along the edge of the fabric, we're gonna do extreme close-ups time. Extreme close-up. Okay, so this is how the edge of the fabric is naturally. It's basically 3 strands woven together like a, 3 strands woven together like a basket weave stitch almost. But because of what happens when you cut the basket weave, these strands at the end are technically loose. So this horizontal one, you could technically just pull it out. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a blanket stitch across the edge, so it kind of forces it to stay in place. It's not perfect, but it will prevent like subtle fraying that'll happen at the end here. So it prevents those bits from really coming off. Because, for example, on this edge, you can already see some of it coming off. Like this is for focus thing. This is like a loose string that's already coming off of the first row of basket weave. So we do the blanket stitch for our own sanity and to make sure that we let me zoom in a tiny bit. Basically for our own sanity, to make sure that we don't make our whole fabric fall apart while we're using it. Stream was lovely. Finished our hardcover book and it looks wonderful. Moth, pictures. I need to see pictures. I need to see. I'm so excited. Why am I doing this? I have a needle threader. Why am I using this as if I don't own that? But yes, welcome in, friends. Tech, I found a tutorial for putting a hardcover on a butterfly bound book like you already know and love. Ooh, Moth. That's so exciting. I want to do another bookbinding stream soon. I'm thinking maybe next weekend. If Franco's here, does that mean... I don't know what that means. Does that mean something? That means something. I feel slightly out of the loop. I'm not sure what that means, but hopefully good things. Great to be here, Tech. I'll keep lurking. Thank you so much for being here, Franco. Thank you so much for being here, friend. It's always awesome to see all of the lovely friends in the creative community. Just doing edge stitches. Together equals Franco. Yes. Yes, that's right? I called Together Franco. That's their name, right? I've been messing up names recently, so I'm paranoid about it. I actually use masking tape too. Yeah, I normally use I used to use masking tape, but my tape kept falling off and it drove me nuts. So I've taken to sewing the edges, which also can be a complete and utter pain, and not always like the best way of doing things, but it's the method I'm using. I already have that. Also gotta lurk a bit, but give a big hug to you, Tech. You're wonderful, you're glorious, you're enough gray. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Y'all are the freaking kindest people ever. I really appreciate it, I really do. Pictures in a few days when it comes out from under 100 plus pounds of books. Okay, fair. I believe Danny was in the same lurky raid train watching our amazing friends from the Karmov household. Oh, okay. If Danny is doing the lurk, hello Danny. If not, still hello Danny. From wherever Danny is and having hopefully a wonderful day. While I figure out how to thread a needle. You would think after cross-stitching for some months, years, I would be more proficient at threading needles, but that is 100% not the case. Drop the link in your arts and crafts section on your Discord. Ooh, thank you so much, Moth. I appreciate it. And Andrea, thank you so much for shouting out all of our wonderful friends. There are so many amazingly talented people here. I'm so happy to just be a part of it in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to think about what I'm doing. What am I doing? What am I doing? A question I ask frequently. I think what I'm gonna do, I don't normally join such short threads, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just pull everything through the loop and hope for the best, because that's normally how I do things. That's normally how crafts happen around here, is we just do it and hope for the best outcome possible, whatever that outcome may or may not be. I did notice Danny and Carrot's user list, but didn't want to call them out of lurk. Gotta head out, so leave you in the capable hands of all of our friends. No worries, Moth. Fully de-stream. You and Carrot, I know, have been streaming all morning, I think, more or less. So go enjoy your chill, non-streamy time, friends. Thank you so much for bringing your lovely community and chat my way, and have a wonderful rest of y'all's Saturday. I'm 100% gonna go check out that book tutorial today. Because it has been a minute since I've looked at any sort of hardcover like tutorials, because I was so scared of doing hardcovers. And because of said fear, I haven't even looked at how to do them. I started making materials for it, and then I was like, this is scary, and then stopped. And just stuck to exposed spine binding on my books because that was safe. But it is something that I do very much want to learn. I like the black on this fabric. I think it's a really pretty contrast. Especially since it's going to be like a spoopy pattern on an Ada that's dyed to look like blood. I feel like the black is going to be the nice accent color at that point. Some of the loose thread from the previous stitches is running rampant and making everything look weird. And I'm trying to adjust it a little bit so it doesn't look quite so tangly and odd. You guys are everywhere, you glorious chaos instigators. I feel like that's just like, in general, the creative community is just like, hello, I'm here to spread chaos and fun. But I will say, whenever Danny's doing a stream that happens to coincide with my work time, I just leave it on in like my earpods while I do worky stuff and like am in meetings, because music is super soothing and super lovely. It gives me very much productive vibes. So I'll pop in and like lurk. a streamless BTW going to be incredible. I have a stream list? Like, so I'm gathering there's a way I can see who's in chat, and I don't think I've ever bothered to check, other than, like, I'll see who's in, like, chat as in actively speaking in chat, but I've never thought to look at who's, like, possibly lurking. And truthfully, I didn't really know that was a thing you could do. I think Andrea had mentioned it to me once, but I didn't really know that as a capability. I thought that if I was in lurk, no one would, like, know ever. Like, if I lurk in someone's stream, I could just vibe in a corner and no one will know. But apparently not. So I'm learning lots of new things today, friends. Okay, I think that extra thread is reasonably secured. I can stop sewing it. But yes, we're starting the very slow process right now of prepping cross-stitch fabric so that it doesn't absolutely fall apart whenever we start trying to sew on it. I'm back. Need to calm down after a bit scary-ish thing. Oh no, has to do with leaked info of clinicians. Oh goodness. But things are being handled. I need to calm, so thank you for the calm. Sorry, I don't want to drag the chat down. The fabric is pretty. No worries, Miyamura. I hope you feel better. I hope everything is settled and okay. But I really hope it gets better. I'm hoping that crafty things will be more calm things. The fabric is actually dyed by I actually bought it from another streamer, Corn Muscles, who dyes Ada, and so that's what I'm working on. It's like a blood-stained sort of fabric that I'm working with. But regardless, I hope everything works out, Miyamura. Let us know if you need anything. Chaos and fun is always a creative venture. Yes, it really is. I feel like that's how I feel when I play tabletop RPGs. Like the tabletop RPG that we played on stream with Carrot and Moth was just the most wonderfully chaotic goblin energy campaign ever. We 100% we're like, oh, here's the storyline. We're gonna take a hard left at the storyline and do something entirely different. Like, we were camp counselors that were clearly not invested in the safety of the children. Comes upon a child that's clearly, like, been attacked, and we just, like, completely ignore her input. We're like, could be a spy, and just stop listening to her. Am I on the same row? Sometimes it's hard to tell with fabric if you're still in the same row of holes. I am indeed. It just looks a little off. I don't know how to check each list of streamer, but in mod view I can see everyone. I guess I'll have to see if there's a way that I can. I mean, I don't think it's something that I would often venture into, just because I don't normally look at those sort of things. But it'll be interesting to know that the capability exists when I was not really aware of it until now. I need to go get my yarn that I had a flying accident on. Oh no. I hope all is well with the flying accident. Do tell more when you're back. That is right, you D&D too. So did you hear that I got a promotion at work using D&D Star? No, I did not know. Please share. Please share all the things. That's awesome. That is fully well and truly freaking awesome. Creating a kobold character right now. For D&D folks, I don't even D&D. I just really love kobolds. Aww. Miyamura, we should do a TTRPG. We should play one together. That reminds me, I need to get updated links for story crafters, because right now we are recruiting the next cohort of story crafters for the collaboration that myself and Allison are doing. Let me actually bring up that new, or grab that new link now so that I don't forget. Basically, Story Crafters is a collaboration between myself and Insight Checked, and basically what we do is we pair a craft with the tabletop RPG. We are on my stream and playing the craft and completing the craft, and then with the themed craft we go and play a tabletop RPG on Allison's stream. So that's Story Crafters, and we did our first cohort of Story Crafters where we did some bookbinding. That was the themed craft. We did bookbinding to make journals for our camp counselor characters, and then we played monsters and counselors, and it was, the other players were the absolutely lovely and amazing Carrot and Mothman. It was an absolute blast. And so this next cohort of Story Crafters is going to be Crochet and Brindlewood Bay. And so we'd be learning how to crochet, or if you're someone who crochets that wants to learn tabletop, or if you're a tabletop person that wants to learn crochet, or maybe you're new to both and you want to learn both. Our next cohort is Brindlewood Bay and crocheting. And for people not familiar with Brindlewood Bay as a one-pager tabletop game, you basically play like a group of Murder, She Wrote grannies trying to solve a mystery. So you're just some octogenarians with crochet hooks and bingo cards, basically. Solving a mystery. If Scooby-Doo was elderly, that's basically the premise of Brindlewood Bay. Ooh, Mia crochet! What other crafts are you thinking about doing in the series? So the ones that we have that we've been looking at, but yeah, Star, if you're interested, we're still, the application form is still open. I just sent the new form to Andrea, so we can edit the command. But after, or not necessarily after Brindlewood Bay, but some of the other ones that we were thinking of is there's one called Adventuring Skeletons, in which when you take damage, you're a skeleton, and when you take damage, you lose a bone. And so we were thinking of doing Lego for that one. We were also thinking of, you know, other fiber arts like knitting, doing cross-stitching, maybe small diamond painting. We had a whole list. There's a whole list. Polymer clay is another one that's on the list. We haven't necessarily found the tabletop RPGs that match with each of them yet. But those are some of the crafts that we were looking at. And if y'all have any suggestions for crafts, I am fully open to hear them. There's a tabletop RPG in which you play a raccoon doing crimes, which I think is just the most thematic thing for this channel. And so one of the premises that we were considering for that RPG was doing a recycled craft. So you can make whatever craft you want, but out of recyclable materials. And that would be the craft that we'd be all doing together and learning how to make treasure out of trash, more or less. Is drawing a craft? Drawing is in fact a craft. I consider it a craft. So am I doing this right? I keep having to secure threads and then confusing myself about the thing that I'm doing. But yeah, so we've also done physical art. Origami was another one that we were considering. We have a lot. We have a very long list because there's a ton of crafts out there, and I'm still learning what crafts are out there and how to best apply them. But I'm sure we will do some sort of digital art, physical art craft. Or painting, yeah, no, absolutely. It's a lot of carrots. Like, do it, it's fun. Yeah, no, having Carrot and Moth, that was such a fun session. My face hurt so much from laughing. Uh, just full on cheek pain from all the silliness and the laughter of it all. It was such a fun game. We got some very interesting, I think, clips. I think the whole thing felt very clippable. We got some very interesting ones from that session. And also the acute awareness that our characters should not have been camp counselors to begin with. I think one of my favorite things is that what Allison and I were doing was, for bit redeems, you can do some sort of contribution to the story. So, in the case of the Monsters and Counselor game we were playing, I think it was for 100 bits, you donated an item to the camp. You were a donor of an item to the camp, and it has your name on it. Just nothing that really has a story game impact. But it was the funniest thing ever, because there was one chatter that did like 8 of those donations. So every time we were in a new place, it would be like, this cave has carved into the wall, like, this cave donated to the camp by discarded dork, or this shed donated to the camp by discarded dork. And it was just the funniest callback ever. So we have some of those where we have some fun bit redeems where you can give rerolls, or you can give a plot twist. For, I think it's 1,000 bits is you can give a plot twist in chat, or the awarder decides what that plot twist could be. Some very crazy antics is basically what we have in store with respect to story crafters. With chat being able to have some impact on all the craziness. But it was a great game. The game we did with Carrot and Moth, just absolutely fantastic and bonkers. Which are the best sort of games, you know? The best sort of the games are the ones where you're like, this is wild. I need to look at chat. I can see it moving out of the corner of my eye while I try to do a blanket stitch. Not the cleanest blanket stitch, but it's also a hand-sewn blanket stitch, so it's not going to be the nicest edge, especially as someone who is terrible at sewing. I feel like that's why I hate assembly and crochet, because I'm terrible at sewing, and therefore whatever I crochet will look worse, because I'm terrible at hand sewing things, so it just does not look clean or pretty in any way. I would like to bribe Tech to let me play with Star. No bribery is ever needed, Carrot. Listen, you can, and that's another thing. I don't know if Allison and I have mentioned, but you can do story crafters always. Like, if Carrot, if you are like, hey, if you ever want an extra person, or if you ever need an extra person, I'm down. You are free to, if the dates are okay with you on the application, you are free to fill out the application again and again. Like, I mean, granted, I think after a certain time, I mean, like, you can just tell me. That counts too. But just to, if the dates work for you, friend, and of course, we will try to give preference to newer players that want to try. But if we have a space open at the table, Carrot, you are 125% always welcome. I did the same thing to Allison when she first started streaming, where I'm like, if you ever need a spare person, listen, I'm always down. Just consider me a general platonic yes, until further notice. Unless I can't make those dates in particular, then I'll tell you. You do a drawing or paint on canvas one, and then Miramar would be up on that. Okay, for sure. We're trying to match tabletop RPGs, and I like that we're doing it this way too, because we're discovering so many one-shot or one-pager games that otherwise I don't think we would have known about, because we're looking at different thematic things. And we're also going to try to do things maybe that are more holiday themed, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So maybe, for example, for Halloween, doing something like, we're doing a Halloween craft, but craft of your choice, and playing a Halloween themed game, for example, or Christmas themed. There is actually a Christmas one-pager called The Fight Before Christmas, in which you fight Santa Claus, and it's such a weird game. It's a very weird lasers and feelings one-pager, but heck, why not? Why not fight Santa Claus in an alternate universe? You're not gonna get that chance IRL, as far as I know, so why not? In D&D promotion, you asked, I was part of— yes, absolutely I asked. Absolutely I asked, and I 100% want to know the context of that. I was part of a workshop at work, and they asked us to make a presentation. Topic is anything we want. I chose character creation and backstory in D&D. Ooh. The very next day, I found out that management was in the meeting I presented and was impressed. They fast-tracked my promotion. I'm now a corporate trainer. That's awesome. My first question this week. That's awesome, Star. And Carrot, I still love this idea, but we would be Shaggy and Scooby with a granny caper, aka we'd go off on our own and be goofy. Vex, hello, hello, friend. I can't speak. Hello, Vex. How are you doing today? Can you send me a link for Brindlewood Bay? Oh, the actual tabletop game? Let me see if I can find it really quickly. I'm not sure I'd be able to pull the... I don't think it's a free game. But I think Allison has a copy of it. But I can link back to their Kickstarter. And I can read y'all the premise, because the premise is a little more fleshed out. So, Brindlewood Bay is a tabletop role-playing game that combines Murder, She Wrote with H.P. Lovecraft. In it, you play a group of elderly women, members of the local Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club, I love it already, who help the authorities solve murder cases in a picturesque New England town. Over the course of their investigations, they become aware of a dark occult conspiracy that connects the cases, and will eventually have to face that conspiracy in order to save their community. So yeah, we're part of a Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club. Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club. And that is fantastic and amazing. There you have a link to the monster, so don't know if you wanted another link. Here, I sent you the Kickstarter link. Which I think has 2 different tabletop games by the same company. But at least there you can read about the premise of the game and see some of the art. Basically, we're a book club that was like, we're solving some mysteries today. We're a book club that got all Scooby-Doo on our local town. Which I love. What did I say in your chat the other day, Carrot? That someone brought their grandma, who was like a former, like, featherweight boxing champion. And you know what? That'll be my character in Brindlewood Bay. If I make it work, that'll be my character in Brindlewood Bay. I'll make little boxing gloves out of crochet. I don't mind. I watched Critical Role do a one-shot where they adapted The Nightmare Before Christmas and ended up playing Christmas elves. Oh, that's cool. There's a link to Monsters Hidden if you wanted another link. Yeah, just link to the, I think linking to the Kickstarter would be good. I know Allison, I think, has a digital copy, and that's what she works off of. But what's the name of the group? The Gauntlet Gaming Community. They also have a website. I can send you the website if that would be better. Here you go. Yeah, so the one that I'm thinking of for Christmas, it's called The Fight Before Christmas. And the summary premise is absolutely hilarious to me. I'm actually gonna pull it up because it's very funny. The Fight Before Christmas? Oh goodness. So, the premise for The Fight Before Christmas. The brain, no worky, where's the application for this? So, Andrea's working on the command right now, I think, being the freaking amazing person she is. But I can whisper you the link, or I can just, if I were to play Brindlewood Bay with some people, as part of Storycrafters, or just in general? Here, I'm gonna put the link in chat. That is the link to sign up for the tabletop RPG if you would be interested in participating. And we basically sort of gather interest, gauge interest. Thank you, Andrea. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun. Andrea 100% knows what she's doing, and I do not. I would be interested in participating. Okay, that is the form that we are using to kind of keep track of everyone, and to keep track of each game. It has the dates and like sort of a small description of what we'll be doing. For people that already know how to crochet, it'll be like a fun crochet session that we're going to be doing. Well, if there's anyone who doesn't know or is trying to learn something new, we'll be all doing that together for funsies. On my stream. Basically, even if you know both of those things, I mean, it's a very fun melding of here's craft plus RPG. Oh goodness, I messed this up somehow, didn't I? I try to play Thread Chicken and then I end up with a string that's entirely too freaking short. And then I play myself. But we're almost done with one side. Almost done with one side. As you can tell, this part goes quite slow. But yes, so the session 0 for Brindlewood Bay is going to be this Wednesday, I believe. If I remember correctly off the top of my head. But we have the sort of dates in the form as a rough guide as to what the tentative schedule is. Of course, if we get everyone together and several people can't make one date, but they really want to participate and we can make it work, we'll make it work. So yeah, but it's an ongoing collaboration between myself and Insight Checked. An ongoing, interesting, first time sort of collaboration for both of us. I don't think I've ever seen something similar before, so we're very much kind of flying blind with respect to how we're organizing this. And I guess I've never seen like a craft TTRPG intersection before. There very well could be one that I'm not aware of. But Yeah, we're building the plane as we fly it with respect to tabletop. But I really like it. I mean, I feel like it gives exposure to a bunch of like smaller, not necessarily smaller, but lesser known, less well known TTRPGs that maybe people haven't heard of but would love to play. And people have different styles of tabletops. What a game that one person might like, another person might not. So I think it's cool to be exposed to a bunch of different sort of game mechanics. Oh, I have a conflict with the session 0 for this one. I'll be on stream as Nasira. I can talk to Allison and we can see if we can work around it. So no worries. I mean, what I mean is don't be discouraged by it for sure. Fill it out anyways. And I'll talk to Allison and we'll see if we can work something out. We always like to have a session 0 just to sort of do some of the world building and like of course go over things like lines and veils if it's something that if it's something especially that's a newer concept, if you've never played with lines and veils before. But Allison always plays with lines and veils and X card, so it's something she likes to always make sure to go over and get a list from everybody, or rather present a list, and if there's anything that needs to be specifically added. Like for myself, on the list is always going to be like spiders. I don't vibe with the spiders. I don't vibe with the spooters. It's okay. It's weirdly okay for me if they're like animated or like very like clearly not even mildly realistic spiders. But the closer they get to being more realistic, the more I'm like, nope. Cannot do. Similar to like my mom is afraid of dogs. And she's okay with like stuffed animals and stuff like that. But seeing IRL dog is super scary for her. Not being discouraged, and we'll finish filling it out. And yes, session 0s are important. Awesome. Awesome. It would be really fun to have you, Star. And Carrot, if you're still lurking around, for sure, if you would also be interested in participating again and being chaotic Granny Shaggy Scooby-Doo with Star, if we're able to make the schedules work, feel free to do so, friend. I played some very, very ridiculous things on Allison's stream. I've been a pregnant Mad Max getaway driver with a machete for a hand that also can swap out to a gear shift, and my best friend is runs a junkyard. I've played a corporate lightning deity who was cast out, I guess, of a cushier position and a cushier job location because I saw some information I wasn't supposed to see. I have played... what other odd things have I played on Allison's stream? I've played a employee of a Halloween, a Spirit Halloween employee. I played a Spirit Halloween employee named Lilith, who's just an all-around, like, chill emo kid that, at the age of, like, 36 or something like that, randomly develops psychic powers. Still actively working at Spirit Halloween. So it's a... I've played some very odd and random characters on stream. But that's so much the fun of the chaos. It's like you never know how things are gonna end up. You never know how your character's gonna do. I still remember there's a GM named Alex that I think was on one of Allison's Roll for Coffee streams. And oh, not Appa, thank you so much for the lurk, friend. I appreciate it. And Alex was actually the first Dungeon World DM I ever had. I actually ended up meeting Allison and Alex and a bunch of other TTRPG people in the height of the pandemic during a Dungeon World day held in a Dungeon World Discord from Reddit. And we ended up playing together, and it was such, like, it was instant, like, clicking, chaotic fun. And Alex was the first DM that I had, really, for a non-D&D system. And I remember one time in our long-term campaign, which, as campaigns do, died out a little bit, and she had prepared, like, a cute little, like, Christmas fetch quest thing for us. Like, okay, you're transported to a Dickensian type of world, you're gonna deliver some presents, it's gonna be adorable, feels good Christmas episode sort of thing for our party. What did we do instead? We overthrew the corrupt government. Well, we started a revolution. We overthrew the corrupt government that was exploiting the workers in this Dickensian universe, and our paladin became the de facto head of the revolution as we ate the rich on Christmas. That's basically what happened. It was supposed to be like a cutesy, feels goody sort of session, and we 100% turned it into a workers' revolution. It was an experience. I appreciate that Alex was just kind of flying by the seat of her pants at that point, because you know, how do you prepare for that? You know, you prepare for a cute little Christmas fetch quest, and then your players are like, actually, we're gonna change the political system in this universe. Actually, we're going to instead just start a revolution in favor of workers' rights and unionization. Like all the cute presents just went out the window. Eat the rich, start with just one, I bet the rest fall in line. Hey, Mirror. But, I mean, that's basically what happened. It all started because there was a parade of some sort, and there was a guy riding a goat. I don't remember why he was riding a goat, but there was a guy riding a goat. There was a goat involved, and I think I took the goat back with me afterwards. And a kid threw a snowball at his head, because he's a butthead exploiting workers. So a kid threw a snowball at his head, and he had the kid arrested, and the whole party was like, oh, how dare you? Like, because, like, the kid threw a snowball. Like, it's a kid. Don't arrest a whole child and put them in prison. And that started it all. And then it became a revolution from here on out. Our paladin had heckin' charisma and roused the crowd into overthrowing the awful exploitative mayor and the corporations that were, or the corporation, I guess, the business that was that was exploiting these workers for the mining industry of the town. It was a whole thing. Instead of arrest half the child, I mean, like, by that I mean, like, you couldn't just pull him over to the side and just, like, be like, and scold him. Be like, hey, don't do that thing. And find his mom and be like, hey, you really shouldn't be throwing snowballs at people. But also, he's 8, so, like, let's be reasonable about it. I didn't mean arresting an increment of a child. I mean, I meant, like, the whole thing. But I can see where that went off the rails slightly. I'm making slow but sure progress on this blanket stitch. Once I run out of this already pre-cut thread, I'm going to be cutting longer pieces so they last longer. I'm teasing you. I know, Andrea. I know you're teasing me. And hopefully it comes from a place of friendship and kindness. Oops, I'm trying not to stab my finger. Goodness gracious. So what are you working on? Oh, Vax, I'm so sorry I didn't introduce what I was working on. So right now I am prepping some cross stitch fabric. And let me, oops. I'll do like a zoom out in a second once I secure this thread. So let me zoom out so you can see what I'm working on. So this is some fabric that I got, some Aida specifically, for cross stitching on. And what I'm doing right now is I'm doing a blanket stitch across the edges of the fabric. And the reason I'm doing that is that it prevents the fabric from fraying, because if I just left it as is, these bits could fray off, and it could basically, like for example here, it's fraying a little bit. It could basically like almost change the size of your project, or it can be a little hard to work with if it's fraying because you're constantly handling it basically. So I'm doing a blanket stitch around the edges right now to sort of secure them in place, and make sure that I don't mess them up. And then I'm going to be gridding it. Gridding is basically, I'm going to be making a grid of squares on it so it can help me as a reference figure out where all the stitches are supposed to go. Kind of like when you use graphing paper to help you draw something with like the right proportions. And up in this corner, I'm gonna make it slightly bigger. Oops, this corner? This corner, haha. This corner. This is the cross-stitch pattern that I'm working on right now. It is a reproductive rights cross-stitch pattern that was a part of a fundraiser that they did for reproductive freedom. And it's by the Witchy Stitcher. So that is the pattern that I'm going to be working on with this fabric once I have it all gridded and stitched up for the blanket stitch. That's amazing. Oh, yeah, like the pattern is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And this fabric is also freaking awesome. It's hand dyed by a wonderful fellow streamer friend named Corn Muscles, who has an Etsy shop, and they do hand dyed Aida. They also do pattern making, and they also do cross stitching. And Corn is a wonderful, wonderful person. And, you know, personal gushy stuff aside, like, the fabric came super quick. It was double packaged, which I appreciated because not necessarily it was going to be handled in the nicest way during shipping. And I also appreciated the double packaging because, you know, it wasn't going to get messed up by rain or anything like that with the double packaging. And Texas is super humid, so sometimes that can be a pain in the butt too. So it came like super nice, double packaged, with some stickers even, which I love stickers. I love little sticker freebies. And yeah, it came really quickly, and I'm really excited about it. It's really pretty. It looks exactly like the pictures on Etsy. It's a really decent size too, so I might be able to fit some small designs on this when I'm done with the main design from the Witchy Stitcher. So that is my plan. I have another fabric also hand dyed from Corn that I have slightly bigger plans for. We'll see how those plans turn out. But yes, these are my Halloween cross-stitch projects. I'm starting them now because I'm starting a lot of Halloween things, and I want to make sure I finish some of them. Fight the man through cross-stitch, I'm here for it. Yeah, the patterns were amazing, actually. Let me post the link. I don't think the fundraiser is open anymore, but I think I can post a link of the... These were the patterns that were available as part of the fundraiser. So basically, before the fundraiser closed, the rules were donate $5 to a charity that supported reproductive freedom and reproductive access, such as Planned Parenthood, for example, and send proof of that donation, basically the donation receipt, more or less, to the Designers for Good email address, and you get access to something like 16 awesome patterns. I think we counted earlier, and it was 16 awesome patterns by some really fantastic cross-stitch pattern designers, several of whom are in a part of the streaming community, I believe. Sleeping Luna Designs is who I know personally. I say is who I know specifically from those patterns. But yeah, that was basically where I got this wonderful, awesome, cool pattern. And there's quite a few of them that I want to stitch. I just picked the Witchy Stitcher one first because I think it fits best with the fabric that I got from Corn. But yeah, it was a super cool initiative that they did. And I mean, like, really, I mean, if you wanted 5 patterns, or if you wanted 16 patterns, I mean, realistically, it's not going to cost you $5. Realistically, it's going to cost you much more than that. So, if anything, you know, the whole wonderful reason aside of why to do a fundraiser for reproductive freedom, despite, you know, the human rights aspect of it, that is incredibly important. From an economic standpoint, it was a good idea too. So, I mean, I think it was an awesome thing for them to do. I don't really remember how to do edges for this, so I'm just gonna do this and then hope for the best. And just do it like that. This might actually be a little too close to the edge for me to do it like this. But we'll try our best. We will try our best. Okay, application submitted. Awesome. Thank you so much, Star. I will talk to Allison. And we will figure something out, I'm sure. Do 3 in 1 hole wrapping around the corner. Yeah, I think that's what I should have done, and I 100% did not do that. I instead just did ones over the edges, which is, it's fine. It's not going to be a permanent edging anyways. If it was something that I was going to keep on it, I would maybe be acting a little differently. But I'm going to try to do multiple patterns on this fabric, so not going to be hopefully not going to be too much of a concern. Right, I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of effort to do for the fact that I'm not going to necessarily keep it, but the way fraying edges has completely been such a pain in the butt before that I take the time to do it anyways. Although these ones are kind of close to the edge, so I'm trying not to pull it as hard so that I don't start being counterintuitive and actually affecting the fabric that I'm trying very, very hard to not fray. Oh goodness. Me, I'm not gonna pull it too hard. Pulls it entirely too hard and messes up the stitch that I'm working on. Oh, I need to adjust my camera because it is zoomed out again. So yeah, these edges are really sort of frayed, so I'm trying my best to be very delicate with not pulling too hard. But I will clumsily do it anyways, knowing myself. I actually have in my wonderful craft kit bag that Mr. Tech had pointed out to me in Joann's to get. I already bought all the embroidery floss because I was so excited to start this project. So I'm hoping to get at least some stitches into it today. Considering the speed at which I am doing this grid, maybe not, but we'll try our best. We'll try our best to do a little bit of stitching of the actual pattern. But the organizational part of the cross stitching is super important for me. I know some people have just the aptitude to do like freehand cross country stitching, and I think that is so freaking cool. But I personally have a hard time doing that sort of those sort of stitching methods. I always end up miscounting. So I have a lot of different like organizational things like the blanket stitching here and the gridding that I do to make sure that I don't have to frog a bunch of stitches, which unfortunately is a thing that I often have to do when I'm cross stitching. But more or less what I'm going to do with the gridding, I'm not going to do full squares, which is something that I used to do previously. I used to always do full squares. But I think instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just the sort of X and Y axis, so to speak, making sure I'm giving myself some tolerance and that I have enough room for the pattern that I'm doing, which I should, but just in case. Oops, dropping things. And try to get some stitches in it today. But this is, I'm trying to do more small projects with cross stitching. The most recent projects I've started, with the exception of the Mario mushroom, have all been very large full coverage projects. And as much as those come with like really cool designs, they're really long time commitments. For me, there are some of those patterns that are going to take me, there's some of those projects that are going to take me several years to complete, because cross-stitching takes a lot of time. And because it's going to take me several years to complete, I have to consider it more of a marathon and not a sprint. But I am trying to do some of these smaller pieces that'll sort of break up the larger ones. And to practice speed for Corn Muscle's Killer Stitch Along that they're doing next year, which is basically I think it's a 10-month stitch along in that sense. It is from January until October 31st. And it is a Halloween killer stitch along that they're putting together. So it's gonna be a long process. It's gonna be a long process that I have to make sure that I'm ready from not only a preparation standpoint of materials, but I'm ready for the time commitment. I'm setting a schedule for myself so that I can make sure that I'm not just, you know, leaving stitching off until the end of the month or something like that, and then I'm rushing to finish it. Story of my life is I need a planner that'll actually work, which I'm yet to find a planner that works for me, because I always end up just not using them. But I've started doing a little bit more stuff on Notion. I don't know if anyone here uses Notion, but I've heard good things about it and its customizability for like all aspects of your life, basically. So I'm thinking of using Notion to organize all the things I've got going on, because between work and stream and personal life things, and then the more business side of things where I am, what's the word? Where I am hoping by the end of the year to actually have like my Ko-fi and everything up and running with respect to commissions and stickers. I'm being ambitious is what I'm saying, and I do not have the organization skills to be so ambitious right now. But I'm hoping that I'll try out some stuff between Notion or maybe just plain using Google Calendar to organize myself to help me have everything in line. I think one of my hardest things to remember is to remember to send out packages or to remember to send out mail. I've been very slowly sending out snail mail. And I have to go ship some stuff this weekend / this upcoming week. Luckily, I work from home Mondays and Fridays. I'm super lucky in that sense, that because I work from home Mondays and Fridays, it does give me flexibility to do things on my work break when there's always businesses that are open 9 to 5, which is, you know, exactly working hours for me at least. You need a digital one with alarms and whatnot. I really do. I really do. I need to look into that. I need to see if Notion has alarms, because I think that would be the most key thing, is if things that'll be like ding 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 do the thing. Hi client, hello friend. Hello, how are you, queen? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I played TFT the other day on stream. I did the thing. Was it great? No, but it was fun. I think I got like 3rd once and then like 7th and 8th the rest of the times, but it was super fun, friend. Doing good. Great to hear. Great to hear. Super great to hear. Right now we're doing some cross-stitching prep for a spoopy Halloween sort of pattern that we're working on. Glad you liked it. Yes, I did. I mean, it was a little nerve-wracking at first. I will admit that it is a little nerve-wracking to play games on stream. Mainly because I am 100% not the best gamer. And there are a lot of games that I play outside of stream that I don't necessarily stream to y'all. So outside of stream, I play a lot of TFT. Now I've started to play a lot more TFT. I started playing Genshin, again, Genshin Impact, mainly because of YG. And I also play a lot of League and Valorant. And I've done some Valorant streams with y'all, but not that many. But I actually used to play a lot of League before streaming, and I kind of stopped because I've been too nervous to play League on stream. But I dipped in my toes by doing some TFT. And maybe we'll do some ARAMs or something like that next time we do some gaming on stream. Ooh, this one is a little close to the edge. We'll see if we can make it through. Slowly you will get into everything. Slowly I will do all the things. That's how it feels. Feels like slowly I'm gonna end up doing all the things. But that's the fun part. Actually, today we played a pigeon dating sim, which is one of the oddest things I've ever played ever. I died in the game. I failed to romance a pigeon, and the game was mad at me for it, and I died in the game because I failed to secure a pigeon boyfriend. Oh, I think this fabric is a little sloped on this side, so it's going to be a bit hard to stitch it, but we'll try our best anyways. Well, we might have to be very delicate with this side because it's already frayed a little bit. But yeah, so right now we're doing some cross stitching. We're doing some prep for this pattern that's in the top left hand corner that we're going to be working on. I could manage not to like unthread my needle for no discernible reason. for no other reason than it slipped. Oh y'all, I forgot to tell y'all, I realized today that I'm going to a friend's housewarming party, and I need to figure out what one does for a housewarming party. What gifts do you bring? Do you normally bring food? Do you normally bring something pertaining to the house itself? I need to understand the appropriate social convention for the context of this event. Because I truthfully have never been to like a housewarming party, so I have no idea what I'm expected to bring. But I'm tempted to bring food. I feel like that's a thing that people always need, is food. People need food, right? Why Bex not? Am I saying that right? Welcome in, friend. Thank you so much for the follow. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Ebex? Ebex not? Wybex not? But welcome in. We're doing some cross-stitching, doing some cross-stitch fabric prep right now specifically. Ooh. I think I'm just gonna cut my losses and finish this string here, and instead just switch to a longer string, considering the delicateness of this knot. I think it got caught on itself, and that's why it's being all weird. Oops. Oops. I think. Yeah, I think I'm just going to end this here. A lot of extra thread, but it's okay. Even though it's a lot of extra thread, I don't want to pull it too tight or afraid of messing it up, and we're just going to get a very long piece to do the rest of this. I love when I can't find the correct end to the thread I'm using. Goodness me. Just gonna use an extra long thread for this. It might be a little bit hard to handle, but it'll prevent us from having to make a new knot and a new start of a new thread every couple of minutes. But yes, I realized that today that I have a dinner party that I'm supposed to go to in the evening, and I'm trying to think if there's like, do people bring, I don't know, sweets? I feel like desserts. I feel like desserts are a pretty good staple of like, hey, bring desserts, and people like desserts. But I'm also afraid of bringing food stuff because I don't know if anyone has any food allergies there. So flowers, but then flowers also have the same like, oh no, someone could be allergic to something, element to them. So that's slightly concerning for me. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure what will be best at this point. But I'm thinking seasonal-ish. I wonder if there are any pumpkin pies in store. Maybe that would be a good sort of fall-ish option. Or brownies? I feel like most people like brownies. I feel like that's a pretty safe thing to bring as brownies. I am going to overthink the heck out of this for sure. Knowing myself, I'm gonna overthink the heck out of whether or not what I'm going to bring to a housewarming party. Trying to very gingerly not dab my fingers. Just very, ever so slightly, not, you know, dab my poor little fingers. But once we do this edge, we'll be halfway through the administrative part of cross stitching. We'll be halfway through this blanket stitch, and normally this side would go a little bit quicker, but with how close this ended up being to the edge, I'm trying not to mess it up. I might have to end up moving down a stitch anyways, so I'm gonna do that now, so I don't end up regretting it in a second. It'll be uneven looking, but it's not a permanent solution, so I'm not gonna worry about it. The draft, the paper draft doesn't have to be the final essay. That's the metaphor I'm trying to say, is that I don't need the draft to be perfect. But that did not come out as coherently as I hoped it would. Gotta sit up a little bit straighter, or else I'm gonna be sitting like a goblin the whole time. But between this cross stitch, there's quite a few kits that I have that I want to start at some point, sometime. I have some really cool Van Gogh style cross stitch kits by Unconventional Cross Stitch. And Unconventional Cross Stitch is one of my favorite cross stitch places. They have some really cool art. Unconventional Cross Stitch, and there's another one, Gecko Rouge, also has some very cool cross stitch kits. In particular, there's a cross stitch kit, or there's an artist on their site named Medusa Dollmaker, and they have some gorgeous patterns and kits for Medusa Dollmaker's art. And I have quite a few of those Medusa Dollmaker ones because they're so pretty. But again, cross stitching is a big endeavor. Can take some time. Can take quite a lot of time. As y'all can see with Duo and Casa and Zakayla and everyone that's doing the Stardew Valley cross stitch, is that it's something that you have to consistently work on and take the time to work on, because it's very time consuming. And I know there's a lot of people that do half stitches or 10 stitches on some kits so that they'll be able to get through them quickly enough. Or quickly enough to be able to enjoy the final product, I guess. Which is something I started doing on one kit, but I'm not sure I like it. I feel like my stitches end up being really loose, and then I'm nervous about securing threads, and that doesn't help when it feels like your stitches are really loose. The full cross, the full X, definitely makes it feel way more secure. truthfully, looking at this now, I probably should have started a stitch down anyways when doing this blanket edge, but it's okay. It kind of gets shortened then long again because I had to go a little bit farther in, but it's fine. Actually look and see what time it is. Oh wow, it's almost 3. We've been streaming for a bit. It'll be like 5 hours in about a half hour or so. Which time flies. When I'm having fun on stream, time flies like wild. I feel like also the pigeon dating sim also made time fly by really quickly. But considering I died in the game, I need to find a way to win in the game. Which apparently you can also die in the KFC dating sim that we played, because I think Korn played it on his stream and he died in it. So I'm not gonna look up things about the game on how to like not die, because I kind of like the weird discovery aspect of like what is the correct thing I should be doing here with respect to pigeon dating sim. But I'm probably going to play again and kind of keep track of the sort of things that I do, so that I don't follow the same sort of path again and again, or else then I'm just gonna die again and again, and I'll end up with no pigeon. I won't end up with a pigeon, and then I guess the secret pigeon police will come get me in the middle of the night, which is kind of what happened in the game when we played. Such an odd game. And I'll have time to practice my accents for next time. I'll have time to practice my Russian and French accents. And the random pigeon that is also supposed to, the very racist French pigeon that I made British anyways for some reason. Yeah, that was an experience. For friends that were not there for that, we played a dating sim called Hatful Boyfriend, in which you are a human attending a school for pigeons, and your love interests are all pigeons. Although they do have a human form that you're able to see, they're just all pigeons. So yeah, that was, as you can imagine, quite the experience. Very odd. Very, very odd. But quite the experience. I don't know when's the next time we'll play it. I'll have to think about it. Maybe like once a month we'll play. We'll do a playthrough of Hatful Boyfriend until, you know, hopefully we win. Or win or whatever. We don't die. Hopefully we don't die in the game. That's the aim that we're trying to have, is next time we play we're trying not to die in the pigeon dating sim. I'm very bad at staying in frame. I'll look up and I'm like, oop, y'all can't even see what I'm sewing. I'm just chugging along, sewing, thinking y'all can actually see what I'm doing. Then I'll be 100% out of the frame. Truthfully, the more I think about it, the more I would think I could have just gotten away with just doing the long sides with the blanket stitch, because it's going to be in a scroll frame anyways that's going to be holding the shorter ends in place. But we're already there, so we might as well do it. We'll have to go a little longer on this side because of the way that that corner is like. So we're gonna follow Star's advice of doing 3 stitches into 1. I think is super smart and probably the very correct way to do the thing that we were trying to do. Oh, that already looks so much better. Star lives in the year 3000 of knowing how to do blanket stitches. Big thanks and shout out to Star for correcting our path. Okay, now that we're less on like the dangerous edge of the fabric, I think we can. Oop. I said we can do a little, or I was gonna say we can do it a little bit quicker as I fully unthread my needle again. I feel like that should be a count. So far I've managed to not stab my fingers, but I feel like that should be a count of like how many times has the thread fallen out of the needle, Tech? How many? Too many to count is the answers. Can I re-thread this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Please! Needle threader, please. Screams. Screams internally. Whiskers! Hello, Whiskers! Thank you for the hydrate, friend. How are you? Let me sit less goblin-y. Ah. How are you, friend? We are doing some cross-stitch prep right now. I'm really great. How are you? I'm doing good. Tell me all the things. I hope you've had a wonderful week and are gonna have a wonderful weekend. But yes, right now we're doing some cross-stitch prep for a pattern we're going to be working on. We're prepping the fabric for it. Just got back from a long walk, and I'm gonna go make a witch hat with my mama for Ren Fair tomorrow. That sounds fantastic. Oh goodness, I need to see when my local Ren Fair starts up, because the way I will be in there like swimwear, I love Ren Fair. I didn't really get to dress up last time, and I want to dress up this year, but I also don't have the appropriate clothes or the right clothes for. I don't have Ren Fair clothes, and I'm gonna either have to figure out something to buy, or I wish I could make something. This is one of those times where I'm like, I wish I knew how to make clothes, and I could like make it as a crafting project for a few months to like make a skirt or a shirt or something. But alas, I do not. But I'm gonna have to, if anyone has any awesome recommendations for any places to get Renaissance Fair stuff, I tend not to buy at the fair just because, well, it depends. I tend not to buy clothes at the fair. I should clarify. I tend not to buy clothes at the fair. I will often buy handicrafts and things like that, but I tend not to buy clothes at the fair because I'm a person that likes to look at a bunch of different sorts of clothes. And so if I look at just one shop, I'll be running around just looking at shops the whole time for clothes, and it'll be stressful. Clothes shopping is already very stressful for me. So I prefer shopping online for anything clothing related. I almost always shop online. Doesn't matter if it's like work clothes or like Ren Fair clothes or anything like that. I almost always shop online. So I'm very much an online shopper in that sense, and would want to enjoy my Ren Fair doing just the running around and just looking in shops and watching all of the entertainment and eating all the food, as opposed to be like, oh no, let me find something that fits me. Our local ones are themed and the fair is usually in August, so it probably is where you are too. Yes, I know from the one near me is in the fall. I just don't know the exact opening day. Lots of clothing stuff is honestly really not that hard. Just gotta take it slow. Yeah, oh, the last thing Mr. Tech needs is for me to get a sewing machine. No, I kid. Bless him. He was like, do you want me to, like, make my office in another part of the house so you can have the whole, like, office for your crafting stuff because you do stream stuff? And I'm like, no, I don't want to kick you out. Like, I don't want to kick you out of the office. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. I feel like eventually I want to pick up sewing. I think what we'll do first is we're probably going to redesign the office, because right now we have a gigantic calyx bookshelf divider between us, which is a practical solution for, like, y'all not seeing him and things like that, but it makes the office so much smaller than it actually is. And so I think the general plan is for us to remove, like, that calyx and to put it against a wall and have this be more open space and do more storage solutions. But TBD. Oh, what a good man. Aw. Yes, I adore him. He actually, his last day of his old job was this Friday. And he will be starting his new job, not this upcoming Monday, but the Monday afterwards. So he has a week to chill out and prepare himself for it. I know he wants to do some house stuff in that time, so Mr. Tech is a very handy person. His dad was a contractor, and so he used to work with him a lot when he was a teen. And so anything that we do in our house, more or less, we do as a DIY. Because I hope that between my engineering degree and his very, very practical and awesome contracting experience with his family, because not only his dad, but, like, all of his family, not all of, like, a lot of his family and family friends are in, like, contracting. Like, his uncle and aunt, who we always visit, his aunt is does computer science, but his uncle does contracting and does all of the remodeling for their houses. So between the two of us, we try to just put our crafty little brains together and do it ourselves. Whether or not that's the best approach is TBD, but I think it's fun. I think it's fun to do the project yourself and learn about it. Especially, I mean, I wouldn't do that for something like electrical, for example. I wouldn't mess with, like, electrical, doing all of that. But for things like bookshelves and storage units and those sort of designy things, it's really fun to do it yourself, I think. Oh, congrats to him! That's such a winning combo. Yes, in for the interior design portion of the house. The only problem is the artsy sort of side. Is I had to sit down and, like, match colors and figure out, like, what I was gonna do. Like, how am I gonna theme the colors of our house? Which I'm not very good at. So I struggle with that a lot. Is like, which is kind of funny as someone who does a lot of crafty stuff in art. I was like, how do I match the things? How does one create, like, house room feng shui? And we're slowly figuring it out. Rather chaotically, but slowly. And it's really fun. One of the first things we did was we repainted our bathroom cabinets. They were very, like, sort of beat up. The people that lived in the house before us, it was their kiddos' bathroom, because it was the bathroom right next to their kiddos' room. And so the whole place was just, like, very, very, like, scratched up and things like that, because they had small kids. So the cabinets were super scratched up, and we sanded them down and repainted them, and we repainted them at like a navy color with like gold fixtures. And I really like it. It's one of my favorite like parts of the house as a thing that we did ourselves. And we also are slowly but surely working on a library wall. So they have in the house there is a almost like a breakfast informal dining area, and there's a formal dining area. And to be honest, we are never going to use the formal dining area. I know myself, we're not going to use the formal dining area. So we're not like completely eliminating the space in any way, but we decided to turn one wall of it into or the main wall of the formal dining room into a bookshelf, like a home library. And so we already did the skeleton of it. We already put we put the shelves together, and we installed them into the wall securely. We did them like floor to ceiling. Now at this point, it's more the artistic stuff of like, what trim are we going to add, and how are we going to add some lights to it, things like that. But I'm really excited about it because I've always wanted like a home library. And I've been living very minimalistically with respect to books, as in I've been going from apartment to apartment, so I haven't had the ability to keep many books. So now with having a house, thankfully, this is my first time to be like, hey, I can just have books because I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, and it's a very fun and secure feeling, and I'm very blessed to have that. But yeah, so, and also with bookbinding, I really want to start binding. I've done it maybe a handful of times, but not successfully. But I have a bunch of like ratty paperbacks, and I love hardcover books. So I want to do case binding or figure out a way to do hardcovers on some of the existing paperbacks I have for books that I love very, very much. So that's something that I wanted to learn and pick up, because I want to be able to I want to rebind them so they kind of like match a little bit and sort of match the story, things like that, because there's some hardcovers that are not very pretty. I will say that there are some very not pretty hardcovers that I wouldn't necessarily want the hardcover version of them, but I very, very badly want to do some rebinding. Like for example, there's American Gods by Neil Gaiman is one of my favorite books, and I cannot for the life of me find a hardcover that I liked of it unless it was the graphic novel. So I want to rebind it in like a way that I like. That's breakfast nooks are the best. They are. I love our little breakfast like eating area, but truthfully we don't use it as much as we probably should, because we are the sort of people that like to sit in front of to like watch something together when we're eating. And truthfully, there are some shows that we need to catch up on, especially I need to catch up on. That's an awesome idea. Then you can make your own cover art. Yes, exactly. Like that's really what I want to do, because I mean, a lot of hardcovers have some fantastic art, but I kind of want to have the cover art be like what stood out to me most in that book, you know? Or like what resonated with me, because it's going to be from my personal library. So those are some of the things that I want to work on and try to do for those recoverings, so to speak, that I want to do. Whether or not I will be successful at doing so is a completely different story. But I want to try. I have quite a few like spare paperbacks that I wouldn't mind if I didn't do it perfectly. So I can practice a little bit, but I'm very excited at the prospect of doing that as a project as well, like a crafty project. There are also some books that like I don't want to rebuy. Like I have some old Harry Potter books and I don't want to rebuy a Harry Potter book. Because JK Rowling. And I don't want to like be like, "Hey, here's more of my money so I could have a hardcover book." So instead, I'd rather take the paperback that I already have and try to make a different cover out of it, rather than buying a new one, because I really don't want to buy a new one, and I don't plan on it. So my solution instead is do my own do my own hardcovers so I don't give money to JK Rowling. Some hardcovers are just too formal, a missed opportunity for some theming, exactly. And there are also some where it drives me nuts when there's a series and their spines don't match up or have some coherency. Like there's some where their spines are like, they're the same more or less theme, but like the letters aren't aligned the same way. The number in the series is at the bottom instead of the top, and they're like mismatched. And I'm like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just keep it the same so they look all nice and uniform sitting next to one another? How could you? Like, please, just we want uniform hardcover series. That's all. At least that's all I want. There's always secondhand bookstores too, and you can do some bargain bin stuff. And if you don't like it, it could be an art journal instead. Yes, for sure. I think it would be something where I go to like half price books and get some. Oops, I bumped my mic. And get also some books that I wouldn't mind if I didn't do them perfectly. This gets stuck a little bit. There we go. She's really awful. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, that's why I'm like, I don't want to give her any money. So I'm like, I don't want to give her any money. I don't want to buy a hardcover. I'm just gonna use my own stuff and try to do it that way instead, because I definitely don't want to buy new books. From a personal standpoint, I don't want to buy new books. So I'll pay like 3 times as much so they all match up. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why? If you're going through the effort of making the hardcover, why would you not have them match up? Why? What would be the point of that? Why would you do that to yourself? That's what makes me sad about it. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, just have them match up so I can line them up all nicely on my shelf. And if you don't, I'm gonna be sad about it. So that's something I could never understand, is like, I figured from a configuration standpoint, if you're manufacturing a set or like a themed set, wouldn't it be easier to keep the same previous configuration? Like, from I guess a manufacturing standpoint, wouldn't it take more effort to change? Ooh, I dropped my needle. I dropped my needle. Don't mind me. Drop my needle. And trying not to stab myself because I dropped my needle on my chair. The stab counter stays at 0. Because I didn't just stab myself in the thigh by dropping my my needle on the chair that I was sitting on. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. We're doing the thing. We're doing the thing. We're almost halfway through the long side, and then we're home free, y'all. we're making some pretty good progress, and I'm happy with it. Okay, there we go, I think. Oops. Trying to pull this and not pull that loose little bit of Ada as well. Bree, welcome in, friend. If you look up the Nerd Forge on YouTube, they took the Lord of the Rings books and turned the paperback books into hardcover books using leather. Ooh, that sounds awesome. I have never worked with leather before, so that would be an interesting endeavor. But that sounds awesome. I'm sure it's a similar sort of process that I could take a look at. Thank you so much for the information. Hold on, I'm going to open a tab and put that in the tab so I don't forget to look at it later. Oop, gotta do types. Gotta do typey things. The Nerd Forge. Okay. Just gonna put that in my or have already like sent to or put it in my search history is what I'm trying to say. Those are the words I'm trying to say. Oh man, Nerd Forge is the best. Oh, I've never heard of them. Now I feel bad. I'm gonna definitely be doing some fun deep dives. Oop, very gingerly pulling this thread. There we go. I love the Nerd Forge. They make the most insanely incredible, amazing different types of things. Okay. Rousing endorsement from my fantastic mod. Clearly I'm missing out on life and need to take a look into the Nerd Forge. I mean, fantastic name. But yeah, I mean, that would also be a cool thing to do the Lord of the Rings books. I have a complete Lord of the Rings paperback. It's an incredibly thick paperback. Mr. Tech randomly scared the crap out of me just now because he walked by my window outside and I did not think he was outside. I saw him walk by in the corner of my eye. I'm like, who is that? Who is there? Who is outside? Who is in my swamp? As you can tell, we don't get a lot of visitors. Zelda's the same way. I think we need to do a little bit more socialization with her because she's just like, well, to be fair, she's very nice to people. Like people in general that she meets outside. But the second it's in our house, she's like, who the hell are you and why are you in my house? Get out. So that's the only time she's ever like protective or barky is actually in the house. But outside of it, she's very friendly. I'm not sure if it's ever going to end up being a problem, but we should probably do a little bit more in-house socialization with her. But all my friends are virtual, are through the interwebs. Not all of them, but a great deal of them. So we don't really know anyone that we could be like, hey, can you like come chill at our house and help show our dog that not all strangers are big scary. So, oof. Tales of introvert things. Where making adult friends later in life is so freaking hard. Yes, my feelings are also in caps like Klutzy. Studson Studio is my current favorite. He makes minis and dioramas out of mostly trash. Ooh, that sounds awesome. I've seen some people do that where like they reuse materials to make like little scenes, like landscapes. I guess that's what a diorama is, I think. I've seen some people do that and it's always so creative. I'm like, how in the heck did you look at an egg carton and see that out of the egg carton? Because I would have never I would have never. It's really amazing. That always looked like a fun craft to do. There's so many lists of things of like what things I want to try. What do I want to learn? I want to learn how to make a tamari ball. I want to learn how to sew. I want to learn how to do quilling, which I think quilling is really cool. There's a whole host of things where I'm like, I want to learn how to do the thing. And then I'm like, there's so many things that I want to learn how to do. There's not enough time in the day to learn all the things. To learn every single thing I want to learn. His videos are very entertaining too. I'm also someone who says, I want to learn how to do. May I share the link for Stetson Studios? Go ahead. Go ahead, Whiskers. But yeah, there's a million things I want to do. I'm like, I want to learn some woodworking. I want to get into woodworking. I want to be able to get back into 3D printing because it's been a hot minute since I did any 3D printing stuff since like college. I want to learn needle felting. Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one on my list is I want to learn how to do needle felting. So yeah, there's always a million things. There's always a million things for me that I want to learn. And I feel like there's not enough time. There's not enough time to learn all the things. I feel like I already have a lot of crafts that I have, that I've started, that I have the supplies for, which is awesome. But I also feel like there's still so many that I want to learn. Hey, Zelda. Oh, going to bed. Okay, bye. Zelda just was like, no, I'm going to the crate and going to sleep. Don't talk to me now, Mom. I am sleepy and grumpy. Okay, let me open it in a new tab so that I have it for myself. Thank you so much for sharing, Whiskers. It's always really cool to see other content creators. And all the awesome things that they do. Ooh, that looks really cool. Just looking at the landing page for YouTube looks super awesome. Heck yeah, always happy to share. I mean, like that's how I find like some of the coolest things. There's a DAS bookbinding is basically the bookbinder that I watch the most videos for. Also for exposed bookbinding, I watch a lot of Sea Lemon. A lot of Sea Lemon. I love Sea Lemon's videos. She has a very like calm presence. And I really like her videos. She does a lot of great videos on exposed bindings, and I mainly only do exposed binding, bookbinding. Case binding, I've watched a lot of DAS bookbinding videos, because I want to dip my feet into case binding a little more, but have not taken the plunge. Just watched a lot of videos to sort of get an idea for myself of how it works even. Sorry, Sea Lemon? I haven't heard of her. Yes, Sea Lemon, exactly like that, but I think it's one word on YouTube. She does tons of arts and crafty stuff. I think one of my favorite things about her channel is that it's very she talks a lot about, or she shows a lot of options for accessibility. Like for bookbinding, yeah, would it be cool if you had like the special awl and the special measuring tool and a bone folder and special bookbinding glue and all this stuff, waxed thread to do your book? That would be awesome. Yes, indeed. But there's also, you really only need, at the end of the day, paper and thread and a needle to do bookbinding. And it doesn't have to be super, like, you don't need tons and tons of supplies to learn how to do it. So I like that she had videos that are like, hey, if you don't have an awl, here are the things you can use. If you don't have a bone folder, here are things you can use. You could use a utensil in your kitchen to help you fold things. You can use these sort of items instead. And And I really liked that about her videos, was that little bit of focus on accessibility that I feel like even like in the crafting sphere not necessarily is thought of a lot. So I love that it's like, hey, at the end of the day, what are some nice things to have? These things. But all you really need are paper, needle, thread. And here's how you can make that work for you. I love stuff like that. Accessibility is the very best. Absolutely. So yeah, I love that because like she had several videos on like, what can I use instead if I don't have this material? Like, what can I use around my house?